The Manhattan skyline glittered, a million promises etched in light against the velvet night. For Mark, it had always been a city of dreams, and for a while those dreams had seemed to come true. He and Olivia were the power couple, their lives a carefully constructed masterpiece of Upper East Side elegance and ambition. Their apartment, a sprawling penthouse overlooking Central Park, was a testament to their success. Mark, a rising star in the cutthroat world of finance, and Olivia, a celebrated architect with a portfolio that graced magazine covers, were the envy of their social circle. Weekends were a whirlwind of gallery openings, charity galas, and Hamptons getaways. They were, in the eyes of many, living the perfect New York fairy tale. But fairy tales, Mark was soon to discover, are fragile things, easily shattered by the harsh realities of human nature. The first crack in their seemingly flawless facade appeared subtly, almost imperceptibly. Olivia started spending more time at the office, her late nights becoming increasingly frequent. Business trips, once rare occurrences, became a regular part of her schedule. Mark, trusting and deeply invested in their shared life, initially dismissed his unease as the natural ebb and flow of demanding careers. He attributed her distance to stress, to the pressures of her latest high-profile project. He bought her flowers, planned romantic dinners, trying to bridge the growing gap with gestures of affection. However, the nagging feeling persisted, a persistent whisper in the back of his mind. He noticed the guarded way she answered her phone, stepping out of the room to take calls. He saw the fleeting, almost imperceptible hesitation in her eyes when he asked about her day. He felt a cold dread creeping into the warmth of their once unshakable bond. He started paying closer attention, his casual inquiries turning into subtle investigations. He noticed the unfamiliar car parked down the street late at night, the hushed tones of her phone conversations, the way she flinched when he touched her unexpectedly. The revelation, when it came, was brutal and swift. It arrived in the form of a misplaced scarf, a silk Hermes scarf he hadn't gifted her, a scarf he'd never seen before, tucked carelessly into the pocket of her coat. He recognized the distinctive pattern instantly, a pattern he'd seen in a store window downtown, a pattern he knew was favored by one of Olivia's colleagues, a man named Ethan Vance. Ethan. The name resonated with a sickening familiarity. Ethan, the charming, ambitious architect who had joined Olivia's firm a year ago, the man she often spoke of with an almost unsettling admiration. The scarf was a small thing, insignificant on its own, but in the context of the growing unease, it was a damning piece of evidence. Mark didn't confront Olivia immediately. He needed proof, concrete, undeniable proof. He started discreetly checking their shared accounts, scrutinizing credit card statements, looking for anomalies, for anything that would confirm his growing suspicions. He found it in a series of restaurant charges, late-night dinners at romantic bistros in Greenwich Village, restaurants Olivia claimed to have visited with clients, but the dates and times didn't align with her supposed work schedule. And then he found the clincher, a hotel bill, a luxury boutique hotel in Soho, charged to Olivia's credit card for a weekend stay. A weekend she had told him she was attending an architecture conference out of state. The truth hit him with the force of a physical blow, crushing the breath from his lungs. Olivia. His Olivia. Betrayal. The word echoed in his mind, a deafening roar that drowned out all reason. The perfect life, the beautiful apartment, the glittering skyline, all of it suddenly felt hollow, a cruel illusion built on a foundation of lies. He felt a wave of nausea, a crushing weight of despair threatening to engulf him. He paced the apartment, the expensive Persian rug suddenly feeling like sandpaper beneath his feet. He wanted to scream, to rage, to shatter every perfectly placed object in their meticulously decorated home. But beneath the initial shock and pain, a different emotion began to simmer. A cold, hard anger. Not the uncontrolled rage of a heartbroken man, but a focused, steely resolve. He would not be a victim. He would not crumble. He would not let Olivia's treachery define him. He would rise above it. He would rebuild, stronger, better, and utterly independent. The next morning, before Olivia even stirred in their king-sized bed, Mark was gone. He didn't leave a note, didn't offer an explanation. He simply walked out, leaving behind the life they had built together, leaving behind the shattered remnants of his dreams. He went straight to the gym, a high-end fitness club downtown, a place he had often neglected in favor of work and social engagements. He channeled his rage and pain into a brutal workout, pushing his body to its absolute limit. He lifted weights until his muscles screamed, ran on the treadmill until his lungs burned, pounded the punching bag until his knuckles bled. The physical exertion was a release, a catharsis. The gym became his sanctuary, the iron his confidant. He sculpted his body, transforming his physique as a symbol of his inner transformation. He was forging himself anew, stronger and more resilient than ever before. Finances, always a source of comfort and control for Mark, became his next focus. He immersed himself in his work, burying himself in spreadsheets, market analysis, and investment strategies. He channeled his emotional turmoil into professional ambition, working harder, smarter, and more ruthlessly than ever before. He made shrewd investments, diversified his portfolio, and tightened his financial grip. He cut back on frivolous spending, eliminating all traces of their shared lifestyle, the expensive dinners, the designer clothes, the extravagant vacations, all gone. He was building a financial fortress around himself, a bulwark against vulnerability, a testament to his newfound independence. Meanwhile, Olivia's affair with Ethan, initially a thrilling escape from the perceived predictability of her life with Mark, was rapidly disintegrating. Ethan, while charming and ambitious, proved to be insecure and possessive. The initial excitement of their illicit romance soon gave way to jealousy and control. He resented Olivia's success, her independence, her lingering ties to her former life. He started criticizing her work, her friends, her very being. The whispered sweet nothings were replaced by sharp accusations, the passionate embraces by cold silences. Olivia, initially blinded by the intoxicating allure of forbidden love, found herself trapped in a relationship that was suffocating her. Ethan's insecurities manifested in controlling behavior. He demanded constant attention, scrutinized her schedule, and questioned her every move. He isolated her from her friends, subtly poisoning her relationships with veiled criticisms and manufactured conflicts. The glamorous New York life she had envisioned with Ethan was a mirage, replaced by a claustrophobic existence dictated by his whims and insecurities. Their chic Soho hotel trysts were exchanged for strained dinners in his cramped, cluttered apartment in a less-than-fashionable neighborhood. The dream had devolved into a nightmare. Olivia's vibrant, cutting-edge design firm began to suffer. Her focus fractured, her creativity stifled by the constant emotional turmoil. Projects were delayed, deadlines missed, clients lost. Her reputation, once impeccable, started to tarnish. The confident, award-winning architect was slowly fading, replaced by a shadow of her former self. Weary, anxious, and increasingly isolated, she looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. The spark in her eyes dimmed, the vibrant energy extinguished, the carefully curated image crumbling under the weight of regret and despair. She started to think of Mark, of their beautiful penthouse, their effortless compatibility, the unwavering support he had always offered. The contrast between her current reality and her past life was stark and brutal. She had traded stability for chaos, genuine affection for fleeting passion, and now she was paying the price. The city lights, once a symbol of endless possibilities, now seemed to mock her, their brilliance highlighting the darkness that had enveloped her life. Desperation began to gnaw at her. She knew she was losing Ethan, his possessiveness escalating into outright hostility, his initial charm replaced by a simmering resentment. And she was losing herself, her career, her friends, her sense of self-worth. In a moment of profound panic, fueled by wine and regret, she did the unthinkable. She reached out to Mark. It started with a tentative email, a carefully crafted message expressing concern for his well-being, couched in the guise of professional courtesy, inquiring about a shared investment account they still technically held jointly. Mark's response was cold, professional, and to the point. He addressed the financial matter efficiently and dispassionately, making it clear that their relationship was strictly business. There was no trace of warmth, no hint of lingering affection, just a chilling detachment that sent a shiver down Olivia's spine. Undeterred, fueled by a desperate hope and a rapidly dwindling sense of options, Olivia escalated her attempts. She started calling him, her voice trembling as she left increasingly frantic voicemails, begging him to talk to her, to meet her, to just hear her out. Mark blocked her number. She bombarded him with emails, long, rambling apologies filled with self-justification, regret, and thinly veiled pleas for forgiveness. Mark deleted them unread, his resolve hardening with each desperate attempt. Olivia was facing an impenetrable wall, a wall of Mark's unwavering indifference. She realized with a sickening certainty that she had not only lost him, but she had also destroyed any chance of ever regaining his respect, his friendship, or even his pity. In a final desperate gamble, clinging to the faintest glimmer of hope, Olivia enlisted her mother. Her mother, a kind, well-meaning woman who had always adored Mark, agreed to intervene. She called Mark, her voice laced with concern, requesting a meeting, ostensibly to discuss Olivia's well-being, but in reality to plead her daughter's case. Reluctantly, and only out of respect for Olivia's mother, Mark agreed. He met her at a discreet tea room in the West Village, a neutral territory, a far cry from the glamorous restaurants they used to frequent with Olivia. He listened patiently, his expression carefully neutral, as Olivia's mother spoke, her voice laced with worry and a palpable sadness. She painted a picture of Olivia's misery, her isolation, her professional struggles, her profound regret for her actions. She spoke of Ethan's controlling behavior, of Olivia's growing unhappiness, of her shattered dreams. She acknowledged Olivia's mistakes, her infidelity, her betrayal, but emphasized her remorse, her supposed realization of the enormity of her loss, her desperate longing for forgiveness, for a second chance. She appealed to Mark's inherent goodness, his compassionate nature, reminding him of the happy years he and Olivia had shared, of the deep love they once professed. She spoke of the bond they had forged, the life they had built, the future they had envisioned, all now tragically lost. Mark listened, his gaze unwavering, his face an impassive mask. He felt a flicker of sympathy for Olivia's mother, a decent woman caught in the crossfire of her daughter's self-inflicted disaster. But for Olivia herself, he felt nothing. The love he had once felt for her was gone, extinguished by betrayal and replaced by a cold, unyielding indifference. He had grieved, he had healed, he had moved on. Olivia was a ghost from a past life, a chapter closed, a memory fading. The pain had subsided, leaving behind a scar, a reminder, but no longer a source of anguish. When Olivia's mother finished her heartfelt plea, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, Mark spoke, his voice calm, measured, and devoid of emotion. He expressed his appreciation for her concern, acknowledged her pain, but made it unequivocally clear that there was no possibility of reconciliation. He had forgiven Olivia, not for her sake, but for his own peace of mind, to release himself from the burden of anger and resentment. But forgiveness, he emphasized, did not equate to reconciliation. He was not the same man Olivia had left. He was stronger, more self-aware, and he had built a new life for himself, a life of purpose and independence, a life that held no space for her. The door was closed, locked, and bolted. There was no turning back. Olivia's mother, a perceptive woman, sensed the finality in Mark's voice, the unshakable resolve in his eyes. She knew her mission had failed. The hope she had clung to, however fragile, had been extinguished. She thanked Mark for his time, her voice heavy with resignation, the weight of her daughter's shattered dreams pressing down on her. She left the tea room, her shoulders slumped, carrying the burden of Olivia's broken world back to her. Olivia received the news from her mother with a mixture of disbelief and fury. The finality of Mark's rejection, the absolute closure, shattered the last vestiges of her hope. The door to her past, the door to Mark, was not just closed, it was sealed shut, impenetrable. Her downfall, it seemed, was complete. She was alone, isolated, trapped in a toxic relationship, her career in tatters, her reputation tarnished, her future bleak. She lashed out at her mother, blaming her for failing to sway Mark, for not being persuasive enough, for not understanding the depth of her despair. But as the initial rage subsided, replaced by a chilling emptiness, a different emotion began to surface, a cold, calculating resentment. Regret and remorse were fleeting luxuries she could no longer afford. She had lost everything, but she refused to accept defeat. She would not simply fade away into oblivion. A spark of something dark and dangerous ignited within her. If she couldn't have Mark, if her life was in ruins, then perhaps she could ensure he wasn't entirely happy either. A predatory smile slowly spread across her face, twisting her features into a mask of chilling determination. The game, she decided, was far from over. It was merely entering a new, far more dangerous phase. Mark, oblivious to the storm brewing in Olivia's shattered psyche, was thriving. He had moved on, not just geographically and financially, but emotionally and spiritually. He had embraced his newfound independence, relishing the freedom and control he had reclaimed over his life. He was dating again, cautiously, selectively, enjoying the company of intelligent, accomplished women who appreciated his strength and integrity. His career was soaring, his firm recognizing his talent and dedication with promotions and accolades. He had transformed his pain into power, his heartbreak into resilience. He was living his best life, a life of purpose, passion, and genuine happiness. But in the shadows, Olivia was watching, waiting, plotting. Her resentment festered, fueled by a toxic cocktail of jealousy and wounded pride. She meticulously tracked Mark's life, monitoring his social media, subtly probing mutual acquaintances, gathering information, building a dossier of his new existence. She saw his success, his happiness, his growing circle of friends, and her resentment intensified, morphing into a burning desire for revenge. She would not let him escape unscathed. She would make him pay for rejecting her, for moving on, for daring to be happy without her. The city that never sleeps held its breath, unaware of the chilling twist about to unfold. A twist orchestrated by a woman scorned, a woman broken, and a woman capable of unimaginable darkness. The glittering skyline masked a hidden menace, a silent threat lurking in the shadows, ready to shatter Mark's newfound peace and plunge him back into the nightmare he thought he had escaped. "Don't miss the shocking climax. The truth will leave you breathless,"